He never saw it coming. Not in 12 years of kicking indoors he had no business kicking. Not in 12 years of shaking down the weakest people in Riverton like they were ATM with heartbeats. Not once did Ryan Mitchell Kessler ever dream that the night he decided to pick on the wrong man, sleeping in the wrong truck, would be the night his entire empire of fear and cash and fake authority exploded across every screen in America and half the world beyond. November 18, 2024, 11:42 p.m. 19 degrees and still dropping, the kind of cold that crawls inside your coat and laughs while it freezes the blood in your veins. The wind coming off the Scioto River was a living thing, howling down 4th Street, rattling loose gutters, slamming into anything foolish enough to stand outside. Riverton, Ohio, 30,840. 7 souls on paper, maybe a few less on a night this bitter, lay dark and quiet under a sky so clear the Milky Way looked like someone had spilled diamonds across black velvet. Inside the warm houses, people slept under electric blankets, furnaces roaring, kids dreaming of Christmas that was still 5 weeks away. But behind the corpse of the save, a lot at 4th and Jefferson, the grocery store that died the day the Walmart Supercenter opened out on Route 40 and took every job and every customer with it. One man was simply trying to live until morning. The back lot was a wasteland of broken asphalt, stubborn weeds, and faded yellow lines that hadn't seen a delivery truck in 6 years. Frost glittered on every surface like cheap glitter. Everyone in town knew that lot the way people in bigger cities know certain corners and certain bridges. When First Baptist ran out of cots and the rescue mission closed its doors for the 3rd fumigation of the year, when the temperature dropped below 20 and the only choice was freeze on a bench or crawl into whatever vehicle you still owned and pray nobody noticed, people drifted there, quiet, out of sight, out of mind. Officer Ryan Kessler, badge 217, 12-year veteran, eased his 2018 Crown Victoria down the alley so slow the tires barely whispered until they rolled over the frozen gravel and shattered beer bottles that littered the ground like broken teeth. He killed the takedown lights but left the spotlight burning white, hot on a primer, gray 1998 Ford Explorer that looked like it had been through 3 wars and a demolition derby and still refused to quit. Ohio plates expired December 2023. Driver, side mirror dangling by 2 frayed wires and a prayer. One tiny, sun-bleached American flag sticker on the back window was the only thing left that still carried any color at all. Inside, under an Army-issue poncho liner and a sleeping bag that had ridden from Fort Drum to Bagram to Kandahar and back, Daniel Ray Harper slept the shallow, fractured sleep of a man who still woke up reaching for a rifle that hadn't been there in years. 2 full combat tours with the 10th Mountain Division, Helmand, Kandahar, places whose names most Americans only ever heard in casualty reports between weather and sports. 2 Purple Hearts. 2 Bronze Stars, one of them with a V device for dragging 3 wounded soldiers out of a burning MRAP, while rounds snapped overhead and an RPG took the roof off. 1 traumatic brain injury from an IED that flipped that same MRAP outside Sangin in 2012 and left him with a titanium plate in his skull, constant hype, pitched ringing in his ears, and nightmares that never, ever turned the volume down. Honorably discharged Staff Sergeant, E6, 70% VA disability rating, a housing voucher wait list that hadn't moved in 14 long, cold months. 38 years old, living in the same $800 truck he bought cash the week he got home because rent was impossible and nobody could evict you from a parking lot at 3 in the morning. Kessler stepped out of the cruiser, boots hitting the ground hard enough to echo off the empty brick walls like gunshots in the stillness. He didn't speak at first. Just walked straight to the driver, side window, and smashed the butt of his maglite against the glass 3 times. Bang, 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 hard enough to spider. Webbed the safety glass on the 3rd hit. Police, roll the window down right now, all the way. Danny came awake like someone had yanked a tripwire, heart slamming against his ribs so hard he felt it in his teeth. eyes scanning 360 degrees out of pure muscle memory before his brain caught up and reminded him there were no Taliban on the rooftops of Riverton, Ohio. He blinked against the blinding spotlight, cranked the window down exactly 2 inches so the wind wouldn't knife straight into his lungs and freeze them solid. "Evening, officer. Something wrong?" Kessler didn't answer. He never did when he already knew exactly how the next 10 minutes were going to play out. License, registration, proof of insurance. Let's go, now. Danny kept both hands visible on the steering wheel, fingers splayed. "Sir, I'm legally parked. Engine's been cold for hours. Just trying to keep from freezing tonight. I gave you a direct lawful order. Move." Danny moved slow, deliberately slow, reached for the glove box. "I've got my retired military ID, VA card, DD2, 114, right here if you want to see. I don't care if you've got a framed letter from God Almighty himself. You're on private property. This vehicle hasn't moved in 22 days, tags expired, and I can smell the booze rolling off you like you bathed in it. Step out of the vehicle right now." Danny exhaled a long white cloud that hung in the air like smoke, opened the door, and climbed out into air sharp enough to cut skin. Faded Wranglers, boots with the tread half gone, old multicam jacket, patched in 3 places with silver duct tape that caught the spotlight like scars. No hat, no gloves, fingers already turning white. The second both boots hit the ground, Kessler grabbed his left arm like he was trying to tear it off, spun him 180 degrees, and slammed him chest first onto the still, warm hood so hard the sheet metal rang like a church bell in the dead silence. Danny grunted as every ounce of air exploded from his lungs. "Hey, easy, I'm complying. Hands behind your back. Stop resisting." "I'm not resisting. You've got both my damn arms pinned." Kessler wrenched Danny's wrists together and snapped the Smith & Wesson hinged cuffs on so tight the ratchet clicked 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 times, way past department maximum, way past anything that could ever be called reasonable force. Danny felt the steel bite straight through skin and into meat. Warm blood started running down both forearms almost instantly, dripping off his fingertips onto the frozen asphalt in perfect dark circles that froze the moment they hit the ground. "You're under arrest for criminal trespass in the 1st degree, resisting arrest, obstruction of official business, public intoxication, and whatever else I decide to add on the ride in. Anything you say can and will be used." Public intoxication? I've been sober 241 days. You can breathalyze me, blood draw, urine, whatever you want right now. Shut your mouth before I shut it for you. Kessler grabbed the short chain between the cuffs and yanked upward like he was trying to lift Danny clean off the ground by his wrists, half, dragging half, marching him the 15 feet to the cruiser. That's when Danny caught sight of the second officer, Brandon Mayers, 23 years old, still in field training, standing there holding his personal iPhone 14 up in portrait mode, red recording light glowing like a demon eye, filming everything instead of using the Axon body camera clip. Dead, center on his chest like department policy required for every single citizen contact. Danny twisted his neck, blood dripping off his fingers in steady drops. "Officer Mayers, why is your body camera turned off right now?" Mayers' eyes flicked to Kessler, then straight to the ground. He opened his mouth, closed it again, said nothing. Kessler barked a short, nasty laugh that echoed off the brick. "Mind your own business, transient. Get in the cage." They shoved Danny head first into the back seat. No seatbelt. Kessler punched the accelerator, took every turn and stop sign like he was trying to punish the cruiser itself. Every corner Danny's head and shoulders slammed into the plexiglass divider, hard enough to leave bruises that would bloom purple and ugly by morning. 10 minutes later, the cruiser rolled into the Sally Port at Riverton Police Headquarters. Overhead door rumbling shut behind them like the gates of hell closing. Sergeant Laura Dempsey was working the booking desk. She knew Danny, had bought him coffee 3 separate times when he sat outside the marathon station on cold nights, trying to stay awake so nobody would mess with the truck. She looked up from her computer, saw the blood running off his hands in steady streams, saw the cuffs still on way too tight, and her mouth actually opened to say something. Kessler beat her to it. "Book him, Laura. Criminal trespass 1, resisting, obstruction, public intox, and throw on possession of drug paraphernalia. I saw a syringe in plain view in the center console." Danny's head snapped around so fast his neck cracked. "There is no syringe. You never even opened the console." Dempsey's eyes flicked from Danny to Kessler and back again. "Ryan, maybe we slow this down, get medical to look at his wrists." Kessler leaned across the counter, voice dropped low but still perfectly audible to the fixed desk microphone that recorded every single booking 24/7. "Laura, just process the damn arrest. Or do I need to pull last quarter's overtime sheets and walk them straight to internal affairs myself? You remember those 127 hours you claimed on nights you were home streaming Yellowstone with your kids, right? Because I sure as hell do." Every drop of color drained from Dempsey's face. Her fingers started flying across the keyboard like the faster she typed, the faster the moment would disappear. They stripped Danny's jacket off, left the bloody cuffs on even though procedure clearly stated remove and replace with holding cuffs, and marched him back to the drunk tank. Door slammed. Magnetic lock engaged with a heavy, final clunk. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead like a swarm of hornets that never slept. Danny lowered himself onto the cold steel bench, wrists already swollen to twice their normal size, blood dripping in perfect circles onto the concrete floor. Then he remembered Kessler had been in such a hurry to slam him around that he never finished the pat down. The iPhone 11 was still in the inside chest pocket of the jacket they'd tossed on the property shelf like garbage. He eased the phone out with his teeth and cuffed fingers, thumbed the camera icon, hit record, wedged the phone into the half-inch gap between the bench and the wall, lens angled perfectly at the cell door. A red light blinked once, connected to the station's open guest Wi-Fi RPD guest. No password required. Started Chung. Uploading 1080p video to a private, encrypted Google Drive folder every 20 seconds. 2 hours and 11 minutes later, the magnetic lock clicked again. Kessler stepped inside alone. He closed the door behind him soft, real soft, like he didn't want the hallway camera picking up a single syllable. Danny stood up slow, back screaming, wrists completely numb. Kessler walked straight up until they were practically nose, 10 O's, coffee and wintergreen skull thick on his breath. "Here's how this is going to go, hero. Tomorrow morning you're gonna sign this citation. You're gonna pay the $750 fine in cash. And by sundown tomorrow, you are going to be out of my city limits for good. You do exactly that. Tonight never happened. Charges vanish. Record wiped clean. You don't." He shrugged like it was the easiest thing in the world. "I make one phone call and every law enforcement agency from here to the West Virginia line has you flagged as a Tier 3 sex offender with a preference for kids under 10. I've done it before. Takes 5 minutes. Nobody ever questions a cop." Danny didn't flinch. Voice stayed flat, calm, the exact same tone he used to brief to DAR generals in a tent outside Lashkar Gah. "You just threatened Sergeant Dempsey with felony theft by deception and witness tampering in front of a live microphone. That's 2 more felonies on top of the extortion ring you've been running for 4 years. I wrote cases exactly like this in Kandahar. Officers selling diesel, weapons, even GPS coordinates to the Taliban. Same pattern, same arrogance, same ending." Kessler's smirk vanished. "You didn't hear a damn thing." "I heard plenty. 40% kickback on every overtime hour, your entire shift logs. City pays for phantom shifts. You pocket the cash. Classic ghostum. Employee payroll fraud. And that save. A lot. Your Uncle Ronald owns it on paper. City cut him 18 grand in nuisance abatement checked. Over 3 years, he never saw a single penny. You forged every endorsement. That's wire fraud, mail fraud, and theft from a federal program because half that money came from a DOJ grant. Kessler moved like a rattlesnake, left hand clamped around Danny's throat hard enough to crush the windpipe. Right fist cocked all the way back, slammed him against the cinder block wall so hard the phone rattled in its hiding spot. You think anybody on God's green earth is going to take the word of some homeless, pill-popping, suicidal vet over a decorated police officer with 12 years clean? I've got medals on my chest. You've got needle tracks and a rap sheet I'm about to write with my own pen. Danny's vision tunneled black at the edges, but he forced the words out anyway, raspy and broken. 12 years of stealing. Video goes live at 0600. Title already queued. Ohio cop chokes veteran, admits running 4-year overtime scam. Kessler's eyes flicked down. Saw the tiny red light blinking between the bench slats. He lunged for it. Danny stomped the phone hard. It shot across the concrete, slid under the bunk, kept recording audio crystal clear. Kessler completely lost it. Kicked the steel bench so hard it flipped end over and put his size 12 boot straight through the thin mattress, screamed at the top of his lungs. Give me the fucking phone right now, or I swear on my mother, I will beat you until there is nothing left for a close. Casket funeral. Danny coughed, tasted copper, smiled through bloody teeth. Too late. Full 4G the entire time. Already at 40. 1 million pre-uploads across mirrored servers. Your career ended 41 seconds ago, officer. Kessler stood there heaving, face purple, veins bulging, fists clenched so tight his knuckles went white. Then he stormed out, slammed the door hard enough to spider, webbed the observation window from corner to corner. By 5:47 a.m., the clip was everywhere. 68 seconds of pure, unfiltered career-ending corruption, 10 seconds of choke, 20 seconds of Kessler threatening Dempsey at booking, 20 more of him admitting the overtime racket in detail. Final 18 seconds of him screaming and destroying the cell when he realized the walls had ears. By 7:00 a.m., it had broken 200 million views. By 8:30 a.m., CNN, Fox, MSNBC, News Nation, OWN, BBC, Sky News, every local station from Cleveland to Cincinnati to Toledo to Columbus to Pittsburgh to Charleston was running it on loop with the Chiron, Ohio cop caught choking homeless veteran. Listen to what he admits. At 10:00 a.m., Chief Harlan Brooks stood at the podium downtown, sweat pouring down his face, claiming the video was clearly manipulated and promising a full and transparent internal investigation. The internal investigation lasted exactly 5 hours and 42 minutes. At 3:42 p.m., the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Ohio held a press conference and announced a full federal civil rights investigation into the Riverton Police Department, citing overwhelming evidence of systemic corruption, extortion, and excessive force targeting vulnerable populations. That's when the dam didn't just break, it disintegrated, because Daniel Ray Harper wasn't just some homeless vet with PTSD and bad luck. Staff Sergeant Daniel R. Harper, U.S. Army Criminal Investigation Division, 2009-2017. Lead investigator on 43 major corruption and fraud cases in Afghanistan and Iraq, fuel theft, contractor kickbacks, ghost, soldier payroll scams that ran into the tens of millions, 2 Bronze Stars with Valor, 1 Meritorious Service Medal, 1 near-fatal ID blast outside Sangin that left him with a titanium plate in his skull and nightmares that still woke him up swinging, honorably discharged at E6, still had friends at CD headquarters in Quantico, still had direct lines to the DOJ Inspector General, the FBI Public Corruption Squad, and 2 retired colonels who owed him their lives. The second the video dropped, Danny started making phone calls. Those phone calls moved mountains. Subpoenas flew out before noon the next day. Bank of America records, subpoenaed by 2 p.m. showed Kessler deposited exactly $840 in cash every single Friday for 156 consecutive weeks, $720 a year, $880 total. That was the standard shakedown, $40 a week from 21 different people, homeless vets, recovering addicts, teenagers with bench warrants, who couldn't afford lawyers and just wanted to stay out of jail. Kessler's uncle, Ronald Kessler Sr., 74 years old, went on Channel 5 live at 6:00 p.m. and cried on camera, "Ryan told me if I ever said a word he'd make sure my property taxes went up so high I'd lose the house I was born in. I never saw one dime of that city money." Body cam audit, completed by an outside firm by noon the second day, revealed Kessler manually disabled his Axon camera on 38 of his last 40 shifts. The error code he entered every single time. 10-99, officer needs assistance. Same code 38 times. Statistically impossible unless you were doing it on purpose. Sergeant Laura Dempsey lawyered up at 9:00 a.m., flipped by 4:00 p.m., gave the feds 2 hours and 14 minutes of recorded proffer, names, dates, dollar amounts, fake call numbers. Every single officer who had been forced to kick up 40% of their overtime or lose their job. By the third morning, Main Street looked like a presidential motorcade. Black Suburbans, unmarked Tahoes, Ohio BZI Dodge Chargers, 2 DoD sedans with military plates, even a pair of stone-faced Army CID agents in plain clothes who just wanted to shake Danny's hand and tell him who, Sergeant. At 6:12 a.m., they hit Kessler's $380,000 house on Maple Lane with a no-knock warrant. He was sitting at the kitchen island in boxer shorts and a wife, beater eating frosted flakes when 12 agents came through the door. The neighbor across the street live streamed the whole thing, Kessler on his knees in the front yard, milk and tears running down his face, begging them not to cuff him in front of his wife and kids. Chief Harlan Brooks resigned at 11:02 a.m. with a one-line email, effective immediately. The city council called an emergency closed session that night and voted 7-0 to settle with Danny for $2 million, the largest single plaint, if civil, rights pay out in the history of the county, before the feds even finished counting the fake time cards. 3 weeks later, December 12, 2024, 28 degrees and bright sunshine, courthouse steps packed with cameras from every major network. Danny walked up wearing the same patched multicam jacket, hair cut high and tight for the first time in 4 years, clean, shaven, eyes clear, posture straight like he was still in uniform. Reporters screamed questions over each other. He took the microphone, looked straight into the lenses, and spoke in the exact same quiet, steady voice he'd used inside that cell. Ryan Kessler looked at a man sleeping in a 15-year-old truck and decided that man no longer had any rights worth respecting. He was wrong. Some of us came home missing legs, missing brothers, missing pieces of our minds, but we did not come home missing our souls or our spines. I didn't do any of this for a check. I did it because if good people stay quiet, the oath means nothing. The mayor handed him the oversized ceremonial check. Danny turned, endorsed it right there on the podium in bold black marker, and handed it directly to the directors of the Riverton Veterans Outreach Center and the Central Ohio PTSD Foundation. Then he walked down the steps, got back into the same rusted 1998 Explorer, new tires, fresh oil, current plates, inspection sticker good for a full year, and drove away without looking back once. Kessler's federal trial is scheduled to start March 3, 2026. Charges: civil, rights violation under color of law, extortion, conspiracy to commit wire fraud. Assault on a federal witness, turns out choking a former Army CD investigator is its own special felony, and half a dozen more. Prosecutors say 25 years is the absolute floor. Danny used the federal whistleblower reward to buy 40 acres and a small log cabin outside London, Ohio. Still drives that same Explorer every single day. Still has the faded flag sticker on the back window. Still keeps a stack of prepaid gas cards and outreach center numbers in the glove box. And every single night, somewhere in America, another veteran watches that 68-second video of a bully in a uniform learning, far too late, that the man he tried to destroy had spent 8 years learning exactly how to dismantle men precisely like him. If you're watching this from Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati, Dayton, Akron, Toledo, Youngstown, anywhere in Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Indiana, Michigan, if you're across the ocean in London, Manchester, Birmingham, Glasgow, Edinburgh, Belfast, Cardiff, drop your city in comments right now. Share this video, because Danny Harper didn't just take down one dirty cop. He reminded an entire nation what real warriors look like when they finally come home, and some debts you never stop paying forward.